Hello guys and welcome to a new tutorial here on CMM. I promised you to do a tutorial on installing macOS on the Beelink L55 in the review of this mini PC. This one is very similar to the Beelink U55 but has some differences on the front. We have two USB 3 ports instead of one plus and Type-C port. On the back we've got more USB ports as well, two USB 3 ports, two USB 2 ports. Then we've also got dual gigabit Ethernet on this one, which is pretty interesting. And we also got a display port output in addition to the HDMI jack, which also is quite an interesting feature. So to install macOS on this mini PC, you need the package I linked down below in the video description. Just download it and unzip it. Then you also need a USB stick with a minimum of 16 gigabytes of storage on it. We will delete this USB stick completely, so make sure to save your data you have on it. And well, if you only have a Windows machine available, you also need the possibility to attach the Beelink L55 to the internet via Ethernet. So make sure you can do that. If you have a real Hackintosh or an existing Hackintosh, you can create an install stick where the whole macOS is on the stick, so you won't need an internet connection then. So yeah, let's dive right in. To start our Hackintosh adventure, I've downloaded the Hackintosh package for the Beelink L55 and unzipped it. And as you can see, we've got numerous folders here. In the Install Tools folder, we find the download tool for macOS. Here we click on the install stick creator for Windows, because for the first step we are using Windows. I will also show you how to do it on macOS later. Just copy the URL here, open it in your browser, and then download the tool to create a macOS install stick. Just click on this BU icon and it will ask you to download. And then go to the folder you downloaded it to, unzip the file. You can delete the zip file afterwards. Then enter the folder we just extracted and open up the BD utility with administrator rights. And then you will see this tool. And here we see our USB stick we want to install macOS on or use to install macOS. Just highlight it and click on Format, click on OK. Then wait until this is finished. If you see this message, just ignore this, close it or click on Cancel. And if the process is finished, it says all done. So we can continue to the next step, which is clicking on the Download Center button, DL Center. Then click on the Update button, which will retrieve a list of macOS versions from the Apple servers. This can take a short while. And once this is finished, we can use this drop-down menu here and select our desired macOS version, which in my case is the latest stable version, Mojave. Just click on it and then click on the DL button and wait until the macOS recovery image is downloaded. And after this process is finished, you will see this message. Just click on OK here and then click on the plus sign next to your USB stick and you will see a large partition, in my case 28.45 gigabytes. Highlight this larger partition, then click on the restore button and select the recovery image we just downloaded, which in my case is called 4.hfs. Then click on open and click on yes, and now the recovery image will be transferred to the USB stick, which again will take a while. So after this process is finished, we can close the boot disk utility, and you can also discard this formatting message, and we can close the boot disk utility folder and go back to our Hackintosh package, where we next go into the folder Clover config, which contains the bootloader configuration necessary to boot and install macOS on the Beelink L55. Just go inside this folder, highlight all of the files inside of there, and then right click and copy them. Next, go to your PC and here we'll see a Clover partition on your USB stick. Enter it. Next, enter the EFI folder, then enter the Clover folder, and here you want to delete all the files except for the Clover x64.efi. So just permanently delete the files. Afterwards it will look like this, and then we paste the files we copied previously inside of here. So just to give you a brief explanation, the config.plist file is the configuration file for the Clover bootloader. It contains a lot of parameters, some of them specifically set for the Beelink L55. So this tutorial will not work on any other PC. Then we have some EFI drivers inside of here, which basically makes the BIOS of the Beelink L55 compatible with macOS. And then we've also got some macOS drivers that make all of the hardware inside this mini PC compatible with macOS. So that's about it here. And now we have a finished installation stick for macOS. Something that you should do as well is to go back into your Hackintosh package. You will find the admin tools folder. This contains some tools we need to set up macOS later on once it is installed. Just copy this whole folder and also paste it into your Clover partition on the USB stick, because you can access this one here on Windows, and then you will have them available once we have finished installing macOS. So next I want to show you how to create the same installation stick for macOS from a real Mac or from macOS in general. And to do that, I just downloaded again the Hackintosh package for the Beelink L55. I again go to Install Tools, and here this time I click on the Install Stick Creator for macOS. And inside of there you will find again the download link for the appropriate tool. Just copy it, paste it inside your browser, click Enter. Then you will find the GitHub page of this tool. Just click on the tinu.zip under the latest version and download it. And once this is done, we can also open up the Clover bootloader text file. Again, copy the download link inside of there, paste it into your browser, and then download the Clover bootloader installer. And once this is downloaded, we can close our browser. And next we need to download macOS as well. To do so, just open up the App Store. Here you search for macOS Mojave, and they will find the entry, open it up and click on download. Then the software updater will open up and the download process will start. It will ask you if you really want to download macOS Mojave 10.14.6 in this case. Just click on download and wait until the download process has finished. After the macOS download has finished, the installer will automatically start, but you can close this because we don't want to install macOS on this machine. So next you want to transfer the macOS installer onto our USB stick, which I already plugged in, as you can see here. So to do this, we unzip the Tinu application we downloaded previously, and then you will get this app. Just double click on it to open it up, then confirm that you want to open it. If you have enabled the security measures of macOS, you might have to confirm opening this app in security settings, and then you will get a message to open it here. So inside of Tinu, click on the Create a bootable macOS installer button. Then it says some requirements, click on Proceed, then accept the license agreement. Next, select your USB stick you want to transfer the installer on. In my case, it's this one. Then you click on Next, and then you select the macOS install application we downloaded previously, and again click on Next. Then it will give you a summary of what it will do, and you click Yes, I understand, and it will transfer all of the installer files onto the USB stick. It will ask you for your password one time. Just enter it and hit the enter key, and then it will continue with the process. Once you see this message, the installation stick is created successfully and we can quit the tool by clicking on the quit button. So the next step is to install the Clover bootloader onto our macOS install stick. To do this, we unzip the previously downloaded Clover bootloader. Just double click on it and you will get this folder, enter it, and here you will see the Clover installer. Double click on this package, then confirm this message with continue. Again click on continue, and once more click on continue. Then click on change the installation path or place, and make sure to select your macOS install stick and not your hard drive you are running macOS on right now. So in my case it's this one, install macOS Mojave. Click on continue, then click on change on the change button here, and make sure to hit the checkbox for install to UEFI BIOS or install for UEFI BIOS. And the other stuff here doesn't need to be changed because we are gonna override this anyhow. So next, click on install, enter your administrator password, click on enter, and Clover will be installed on the stick. And once this is finished, we can close this. Just click on close, and yes, we can delete it. And the last step we have to do here is to once again transfer our Clover configuration onto the USB stick. Go back into the Hackintosh package, into the Clover config folder, and next you open up the EFI partition of your installation stick, which is already mounted from the Clover installation. So you will either find this on the desktop or in your Finder sidebar down here somewhere in the drives. Just open up this partition. Here we'll find the EFI folder, then go into the Clover folder, and here we'll already see a couple of files. Please delete all of them except for the Clover x64.efi. Just right click, put it into your trash bin and empty the trash bin. And next we're gonna copy all of the Clover config files of the Hackintosh package into this place over here. So just copy all the files and then paste them into your EFI partition. And then it should look like this. And essentially the installation stick now is finished and ready to be used. And what you should also do is to copy the admin tools folder of our Hackintosh package onto the install macOS Mojave partition. Just double click on this icon and then paste it inside of here. So there we go, this contains some tools we need to finish our macOS installation later on. So next we can start installing macOS on the Beelink L55. To do so, please attach your Ethernet cable onto the mini PC so you have an internet connection, which is especially important if you created the install stick under Windows, because this one isn't complete and will need to download files from the internet for the macOS installation. Also plug in your installation stick to one of the USB ports of the Beelink L55. Then boot it up and go into the BIOS setup menu, and here we'll find the boot tab. Here make sure that wake on LAN is disabled and also the fast boot option is disabled, and you should also put your USB stick as the main boot option. So select your USB stick at boot option 1, and best is to temporarily disable all the other options. And once you did this, go to save and exit and click on save changes and reset. Confirm with yes and it will reboot. So after the reboot, the mini PC will start from the USB stick and you should see the Clover bootloader menu. Here you highlight your USB stick entry, which you can recognize by the USB icon, and it's called boot macOS install from install macOS Mojave. Just highlight this entry and click enter, and the setup assistant will boot up. After a while you will see the language selection dialog. Just choose your desired language and then click the arrow button to continue. So after a short while you will see this macOS utilities window. Here you click on the disk utility and click on continue. Then you click on the view button up here on the left and click on show all devices, so all your SSDs are listed. If you have two SSDs inside of here, both will be shown. I only have the stock SSD inside, so only this is shown. Next you click on the SSD, not a container, not a partition. You click on the SSD itself, then click the erase button up here and make sure to select the GUID partition map, and as the format you click on APFS, and then you can put your desired partition name. I will call it Hackintosh SSD, and then I click on erase and wait until this is finished. So once the SSD is formatted, we can click on done and close the disk utility. So next we can start the installation process. To do so, just click on install macOS and then on continue, and the setup assistant will load. So now you click on continue. You agree to the license agreement. Then you select the SSD we just formatted. In my case it's the Hackintosh SSD. Click on install and the installation will start. So now the first reboot is happening and we will again land in the Clover boot menu. But this time we don't choose the USB stick for booting, but the SSD, which you can see here, boot macOS install from Hackintosh SSD. Make sure to select this and hit the enter key, and then it will boot again. So after a while the setup process will continue. You will then see the Apple logo, but it will likely reboot another time. So let's just wait and see if that happens. So there you go, now it's doing another reboot. And then we will again see the Clover boot screen, and there we select the SSD once again. It will likely be pre-selected already. Nope, it isn't, so I have to select it. Hit the enter key again on the SSD, boot from Hackintosh SSD. And then the installation process should continue. So the booting process is almost finished now. Then we should see the Apple logo once more, and then it should display how long the final installation process will take. So there we go, now we are in the final installation process, which will take about 13 minutes. So now the installation process is finished and we rebooted again to the Clover boot menu, and now you see the new entry boot macOS from Hackintosh SSD, which we select and hit the enter key. And then macOS will boot up for the very first time, and then we can set it up. So here we are in the setup assistant. We once more need to select our desired language. So for this tutorial I'm going to choose English. There we go. Next we need to choose the keyboard layout. I'm going to go for German because my keyboard is German. Then it asks us about the data and privacy stuff. We click on continue. No, we don't want to transfer any information now, just click on continue. Then we can sign in with an Apple ID, which we don't want to do yet because we don't have a serial number inside our Clover configuration yet. So click on set it up later and confirm this with skip. Next we need to agree to the terms and conditions. Now we can set up our user account, just enter your information there. Once you did this, click on continue. Now it asks us about the Express setup, which we can do, just click on continue. Now we can choose how macOS should look, either dark mode or the light mode. I'm going to choose the light mode. And next we will land on the desktop. Now we have to finish the keyboard detection. To do so, just click on continue on the keyboard assistant, hit the button that is highlighted here, and then your keyboard should be recognized and we are done with the setup. So the next thing we need to do is to make sure we can boot without the installation stick, because right now the Clover bootloader is only on the installation stick and not on the SSD. So if we remove the installation stick, macOS won't boot. The mini PC won't find a boot drive. To fix this, we can go into our installation stick partition, install macOS Mojave, just double click on it, and here we have the admin tools folder. If you created the installation stick using Windows, you will find the admin tools folder we copied previously inside the Clover partition, which you should see as well. So just go into the admin tools folder and you will find a couple of applications inside of there. Drag them to your desktop and just unzip all of these files. And then you will get the Clover configurator, the Hackin tool, and the text updater. You can delete those zip files. We don't need those anymore. So just drag them onto the recycle bin there and empty the trash. Then drag all of these applications into your applications folder in the Finder here, and they are installed. So next you open up the text updater, which you need to confirm in the security settings. So you go to settings, security and privacy, and there you confirm opening the text updater. You need to do this because the developer who developed this application isn't signed by Apple. So you can skip this message. Then it asks you for your password, which you can enter. This enables the tool to mount your EFI partition later on without having to enter the password again. You need to enter the second time and click on Always Allow. And after this, you click on Load bootloader here, and then from the drop-down menu next to it, you click on Clover, not the Clover nightly build, but Clover. Once you did that, click on Start down here. And now it will start downloading the Clover bootloader. Of course, you need an internet connection for this. So if you use Ethernet and it's plugged in, it should work. If you want to use Wi-Fi, you need to install your Wi-Fi stick first. Of course, this needs to be macOS compatible. So now downloading has finished. Now you can quit the Kext data. And now you see this folder on your desktop, Kext Updates. Go inside of it, just double click, go into the Clover folder. And here you should see the Clover installer. Double click on it to open it up. And now we are going to install Clover onto the SSD we installed macOS to. So just click on Continue, then click on Continue here, on Continue again. Then click on Change Install Location and make sure your SSD is selected. Continue. And then click on Customize and check this Clover for UEFI booting only. And you can ignore the other stuff. We are gonna override this anyway. So click on Install. Enter your password once again. And now it is installing the Clover bootloader to our system SSD. This is done already. So click on Close. And what you wanna do now is to go back to your Applications folder. We can, by the way, delete this Kext Updates folder now. We don't need it anymore. So in your Applications folder, you go to the Clover configurator. We again need to confirm that we want to open this application. From the security settings, open anyway. Yes, I want to open. So there we go. This is the Clover configurator, which is a configuration utility for the Clover bootloader. So here you go to the Mount EFI menu option. And as you can see from installing the Clover bootloader to our SSD, the EFI partition of the SSD has already been mounted. So we can click on Open Partition here. Drag this window to the side. We need this later on. I can close this one for now. And then we also need to mount the EFI partition of our installation stick, which I'm doing here. Again, if you're using the installation stick created on Windows, you don't need to do this because your Clover configuration will be placed in the Clover partition on the stick, which isn't an EFI partition. So this applies only to the stick we created on a real Mac or on macOS. So I'm gonna open this EFI partition of my install stick as well. So now we have the EFI partition of the install stick here and the SSD here. And in both of them, we are going to the EFI folder, then into Clover, and here as well. And now on the SSD, I'm going to delete all the stuff that Clover installed by itself, except for the Clover x64.efi. I will let this in here, stay in here. Delete it, move it to the trash and empty the trash. And now I'm copying all the files, all the Clover files on my install stick, except for the Clover x64.efi, which already is present on the SSD. Copy this and paste it inside of here. So now Clover is installed on our system SSD, and we copied all the Clover configuration files from the install stick to the EFI partition of the system SSD. And again, if you use the Windows installation stick, the Windows created installation stick, you will find those files in the Clover partition, not the EFI partition. So that's it. Now we should be able to boot macOS without our installation stick. So let's just try this. I'm going to close this. I'm going to eject my installation stick. Also the EFI partition of it. Next I remove the stick from the mini PC, and then I am rebooting the mini PC. And now let's see what happens. So as you can see, I'm landing in the BIOS. Why? Well, as you remember, we have set the USB stick to the main boot option and nothing else, which means the mini PC can't find a boot drive now. So what we need to do is to change the boot option 1 to our internal SSD, which is this one. Select it, click on Save Changes and Reset, and now it should boot from the SSD and we can start macOS without the installation stick. There you go, this works. We can now select between the macOS recovery partition and the main system partition. The latter one, of course, is what we go for. And now macOS will be booting up. So here we are on the login screen. Let me just sign in. And before we are finished, we need to do 2 more steps. So I told you previously that we don't have a serial number yet, which is important. So we are going to generate one. So we can use the Apple services like iCloud, the App Store and all of that stuff. So go into the Clover configurator to mount EFI and again mount the EFI partition of your SSD. And now click on this little home button down here and you will see your Clover config.plist. Click on it. And now we loaded the Clover configuration. Here you go to the SM BIOS tab. And here you see fill this in a couple of fields which we need to fill. To do so, just click on Generate New under Serial Number and click on Generate New under SMUUID. And now we need to check if this serial number is used by a real Mac already, because if it is, this could cause our Apple ID being banned, which we don't want, of course. So this always needs to be a unique ID. So click on Check Coverage. Again, you need internet for this. And now you will see the Apple support website where your created serial number already is pasted inside this field. So just enter the captcha code to check the serial number, and as you can see we get "we are sorry, but this serial number isn't valid." And exactly this is what we want to see. If this serial number is valid, you need to create a new one. If you get this message everything is fine, you can use the created serial number. So once this is okay, click on Save. And what you can do as well, if you don't like the text boot, if you want to see the Apple logo during boot up instead of the text boot, you can remove this -v boot argument. Just highlight it and click the minus button down here and it will be removed. I'm doing this just now for demonstration purposes. And then click on File and Save to save your Clover configuration. And what we also need to do is to go back into the Finder to the Applications folder and open up the Hackintosh application, which once again we need to confirm before we can open it. So back into Settings, Security and Privacy, and confirm opening Hackintosh. Open. And in the Hackintosh you want to go to Power. And here you see that proximity wake is set to 1. We don't want this. Click on this button down here, on this gear button, enter your password, and Hackintosh will fix this for you. This is sleep related, so this will make sure that everything is working fine there. And now let's reboot our Hackintosh once again. And when we boot up now, you shouldn't see the text boot anymore, but the Apple logo instead. Here you go. This is how it looks now, like on a real Mac. And here we are back on the login screen. Let me just sign in. And this is it. Now the Hackintosh is ready for use. So you can now sign in with your Apple ID if you want to. To do so, just go to Settings and click on iCloud, and here you can enter your Apple ID credentials. What you can also do is to change date and time and your time zone under language and region. Here you can also change the system language. And yeah, everything is working fine from there on. Sleep will work, audio will work. I can demonstrate you that real quick. Let me just turn on my audio system. let's make sure that we have selected the output. So here you go, headphone port. This is the front port. Let's just open up youtube.com for demonstration purposes.
Good grammar and spelling
And here you
but if you want to write essays
can hear the audio.
Messages that forge brighter connection.
Works just fine. Bluetooth is also working. As you can see, just the Intel Wi-Fi doesn't work, but you can use any macOS compatible Wi-Fi USB stick for that. Or you just use one of the Ethernet ports, which both work. So as you can see, I'm connected via Ethernet right now. And we can actually use both of them at the very same time as well. Because if we go into the hardware information and click on Ethernet cards, you see that we have both Ethernet chipsets recognized, so both of them will work. USB works as well, both USB 2 and USB 3, no issues there. Our SSD is detected as it should be. Also our memory modules, our memory module is recognized, RAM module. We have graphics acceleration with the HD Graphics 5500 with 2 GB of VRAM and also H.264 acceleration, so this works well. So yeah, everything important works except for the Wi-Fi, and we can also put the mini PC to sleep, and we can also wake it up again with no issues whatsoever, as you can see. So all of this works. So I hope you enjoyed this little dive into the Hackintosh world. I hope you're going to enjoy your Beelink L55 running macOS. And well, thanks for watching and see you soon with more tutorials.